we go. So I would just honor John Savini with what is our eternal shot of the Go-To tent. This is standing out in the back parking lot at the Stanford Museum and Nature Center.
It was my shot.
It was your shot, so would Dr. Lido. All right.
Take it away from John.
It's all right. John's taken many other good ones in the past. Just an observation, though. Kind of evidence of another error. Because as I indicated to you when we were really at the museum going back about 2 years ago, I started describing the plans and said, by the time these guys are done with this place is going to be unrecognizable. And as you know, we officially closed the observatory. In theory, I'm only supposed to go in there for maintenance work and the like. So under the circumstances, we have had our last field day at the Stanford Museum and Nature Center. However, I will tell you that I did contact them in terms of being a standby option in case our paper trail with the city somehow went sideways in terms of getting a permit. But in terms of objectives, they're the same as always. It's just going to be done from a different location. So I'll tell you about that in just a minute. Field day, as always, is to demonstrate ham radio to the public. Now, the one thing I will say about the old venue is we had a lot of traffic through it. One of the disadvantages of the location we're going to is I don't know that we're going to get the same volume of incidental traffic, but I think we'll get enough people. Involve as many club members as possible. You all better show up. I'm going to track you down like dogs, I swear. Recruit new hams and club members via the Go-To station. Remember, for Go-To operators, bring along relatives, friends, and anyone else you can kidnap. But we kind of have a specialized Go-To situation that could be very interesting this year that I'll get into. Likely 99% it's going to be a 2A entry this year. I will tell you that the new location can support as much as a 4A entry. However, this is just based on numbers that we have presently. And based too also on the comfort that we had with being in that category last year, where if you recall with what I called kind of an incidental, almost accidental effort, we came in 19th out of 320 entries in the 2A category. So, we want to do all that, we also want to have fun. I also think the new site gives us a good opportunity to do that. So, let's talk about the difference in approach now that we're going to be using this year. So, we are going from the museum site, which I always liked, but I will point out again, no longer exists in the way that we used to use it. And what I did was approach Captain Lombardo and just explain to him, look, you know, the situation at the museum, I'm not even going to bother to ask them again this year, and I'd like to find kind of an ongoing location we can settle down into. What do you recommend? The first thing he recommended was the Northeast School. Now, ultimately, when I had a follow-up conversation, he just said, no, look, I understand how you guys work, and from what I understand, they're almost identical patterns. Well, they are. So we've taken a look at how that field is put together, the directions and the terrain in all directions. It's not 100% identical to the Stanford Museum and Nature Center, but probably 95%. So in terms of operating environments, technically, I think we're looking pretty good. So the site is right across the street, literally, from the Stanford Museum and Nature Center. It kind of has a low profile as a school. You just see a building way up this long driveway of a good 500 feet when you stare at it from the corral inside the museum. Again, elevation, directional characteristics in terms of what we see when we look and what we see for distant hilly terrain that would block our signals, again, virtually identical. Has the room to support 2A, 3A, we can even get a 4A operation in there if we need it. So all I'm saying is it doesn't limit us in terms of its size. But we do anticipate operating 2A this year, again, 99% chance. And in that configuration, which you may remember from last year, that would be a full-time CW station, a full-time sideband station, a Go-To station, and a VHF station. So we will be putting into operation all 4 of the pop-up tents that we have available to use. Here's a couple differences. One of them is pretty substantial. We always had the observatory. The observatory had power. There was no rules breaking and us throwing in our barbecue provisions in the refrigerators. There were working bathrooms. I wouldn't say they were the most civilized bathrooms, but they allegedly worked. And I even had my office to crash out on. Well, unfortunately, those days are gone. So what we have to do is maybe take advantage of a couple of things that are up there, because here's what I predict. What do you think the weather's going to be on field day this year? It's going to rain cats and dogs.
No.
It is. It always does. Why should this year be any different? So, When we go to the station mock-ups, I'll explain there are a couple of advantages in terms of what's already up there that I think we can take advantage of. However, the bathroom situation, everybody's favorite topic. And so, when I started talking to folks downtown, and the woman asked me the question, and so were you expecting the custodians to come in and open the bathrooms? I'm like, I'm the son of an accountant. I don't even want to hear what the estimate is. We'll just get a chemical toilet. Yes, that's advisable. So, the deal is, if you go up there and you check out that facility right now, it is leased out or loaned out, or whatever terminology you want to use, authorized for the use of the North Stamford and the Springdale Little Leagues, and they're up there every weekend. It's where they train their tiny league players. Really kind of cute if you want to go up there and watch. And they have a chemical toilet. And wouldn't you know it, the league actually pays for the chemical toilet. Now, as part of the negotiations for me to tell the city, oh, no, I've checked every user, I've checked with the leagues, which I did. John Hawk is a guy that a couple of you may know. He's a retired Stanford politician. He used to be on the board of reps. Called him up on the phone and I said, so now what's the deal with the porta potty? Are you taking them out? He goes, your situation is a good one. Because I can tell you this, the league is designed around ending its use of the fields the week before school gets out. And you're always pretty much operating the week school is out, right? Right. He goes, furthermore, the summer leagues where we build the skills, they don't start for a couple more solid weeks in July. If you're catching my drift here, this could be a permanent site if we're careful with it, and it will be a good site, I predict. So, options. Okay, so John, let me make the following suggestion. Now, is that thing going to be there till the end of June? Yeah, it is, because it's the same porta sand that we use for the duration of the season. And he goes, and they do flush it at regular intervals. I said, could you make arrangements if I get back to you that maybe we will pay for one flush job on yours? He goes, yeah, that could be considered. Here's my email address. Get back to me if you're still interested. Now, the other thing is I think I've told you I have a daughter-in-law who's an event manager. I think I've inquired casually among people, and the cost, not for royalty, but for the classic porta potty, I think is about $100 that I'm dropping off at a site these days. So, I don't know if this is the most crucial of decisions. We do, as Dr. John suggested, have the money in the treasury. If you want to lease our own and we'll just drop it in a separate location, we can do that. There's only one handicap, though, and this is the one other thing we got to buckle down. They have a gate, and in order to really drop the porta sand in a good location, we got to get one of the custodians to open the gate. I hope we don't pay an hourly charge where the custodian opens the lock and then sits there with the meter on. Well, they drop the thing off. We'll have to check. But if you really want to explore that, so we'll be independent of the league, we can do that. The only other variable I just want to tell you, though, is this. Recall the location. And if we are in back of the Northeast School, if you walk approximately 400 feet down the driveway, you're going to be facing the gate that puts you on the walkway next to the corral in the museum. Do understand, if there's lady visitors who turn their noses up at the chemical toilet, or this is a big commitment the following day, we will show you the path of how you walk down the driveway, through the gate, walk another 400 feet, and there's a perfectly civilized restroom that's right in the museum. And you don't have to pay the admission fee to get in.
Is this on the same side or across the
It's
street?
across the street. That's the deal. But like I say, you've looked up the driveway of this school a million times, is all I can tell
I
you.
say use the one that's there, let them pay the
It doesn't
guy,
pay to put another one in there temporarily.
Well, then I'll get
pay
back to
him
it.
the
Yeah.
whatever
I'm
fee
not even talking
Yeah,
money
it makes
wise.
sense
Right,
to pay for the flushing.
Pay him for to
Even-
have him
even
dump
once or
it
twice.
right before field day.
All right, then that's how I'll work.
You know,
He gave me his email address, just said when you made up your mind, call me.
It's not even a matter of finances, it's just
Right.
a matter of convenience.
Well, if it's just little boys peeing in it, it's not gonna smell.
And that's what I
You-
predict.
because of what they eat.
Right, and that's what I'm predicting. Because no, what I'll do is we'll just take one or two of the people that don't know the route, I'll show them the route, and if I'm not, capable of delivering them to the bathroom,
Yeah.
somebody else can just take them down there and show them. It's not that big an inconvenience, like I say, if it's a major commitment, you don't want to make it the chemical toilet. All right. Okay, a couple other things then. We're just going to get into the specifics. So again, remember 2A, we're going to have a sideband operation. So we got early pledges, interestingly enough. And I did speak to Adam. And so I think most of you guys are aware now that Adam's out of the roofing business and he's a trucker. So we exploited some connections. He's got a friend that owns a trucking company and he's been getting very steady work. So I called and he said, of course I'll be there on Field Day. What weekend is that again? He says, your job is to now call me every weekend until Field Day and remind me again it's Field Day so I make sure the boss gives me the day off. So I'm thinking 75 to 80% chance Adam's gonna come, which is always good. The guy can take massive shifts and eat up hours of operation. I'm gonna be available on the sideband station. We've already got commitment from Phil, interestingly enough, who was motivated by the story of our attempted joint operation. And he's motivated enough, he's coming both Saturday and Sunday this year. So, relief crew, if we can count on the normal combination of Fred, John, Terry doing some digital, we may have Terry O'Connor. He is working on trying to get a business trip justification to fly in New York that weekend. And if he can, he's promised to join us. Dan, the man, the financial whiz, contacted me during the New England,
The real hot guy?
yes,
came last year,
contacted
or-
me in the middle of the New England QSL party. Terry, this is Dan, how are you? Oh my God, how you doing? God, we haven't heard from you in months. Are you coming for field day? I was counting on it. In the meantime, I'm sick of my G5 RV. Could you please come up and help me put up a new antenna? So the only problem is his phone number's unlisted. I haven't heard from him since. So no lie, I'm just going to drop a quick line to his known address, and then I assume he will respond to me, and we'll do the antenna walkthrough. But we got a commitment from him Sunday, basically same show, which will definitely help. All right, so rig. Oh, we have a treat. I don't mind risking a brand new Virgin rig. If anybody screws it, I'll just shoot you. But my 7610 is going to be the station, or the rig, in the sideband station. My anticipation, again, if Adam shows up, is Adam can orient you all on the rig. He was the one that put in the final recommendation that convinced me to buy it. Generator. Maurice is not here tonight because Maurice had a prior obligation, but a couple of you folks have met him as he's come and gone to various meetings. Well, now remember that Maurice is an experienced ham who unfortunately let his license lapse past the grace period, and he was the gentleman that showed up and passed the whole license sequence to get back on the air. Well, he has already pledged to be all in on field day. I'm possibly going to try and get 24 hours out of him. He's got a brand new EU 2000 he needs to help break in. He's volunteered it. Shelter. We're going to take advantage of all the easy up tents, but here's where we get a little innovative. 2 baseball fields. These are not professional baseball fields, these are Little League baseball fields. The net result is the backstop roofs are approximately 10 to 11 feet off the ground. Meaning, if we're getting a prediction of getting doused, and we really have to come up with hardcore scenarios to keep us from getting wet, tarps over the top, lashed, and then the 8x8s or the 10x10 set up underneath. There's plenty of room to nest the tent. Much in the same way that we used to vent it out of the circus tents that they used to put up for the summer camp. So I think we'll be covered. However, as we get into the next discussion and the how we're going to handle the GOTA station, CW, classic scenario. 2 operators. So I think we're pretty well equipped to be on 1 station. So we do have Andy and we have Marcel, who did a bang-up job for us last year. I have been in contact with my buddy Brooke. Brooke was supposed to be traveling Europe multiple times this year and was going to see if he could squeeze us in because he just wasn't sure how the schedule was going to pan out. I have emailed to him. I haven't heard back from him. The only scenario that would cause us to even consider going to 3A would be if he called me and said he was all on board and really wanted to do something spectacular. Other than that, if he does sign up with us, it's leisurely operating on the CW side, but also the possibility that we could go full-scale CW during evening intervals when there's nobody around that would care to work sideband. But we'll just see.
I was just talking to Marshall. He's bringing his ICOM 7300.
You do want to bring the 7300 then. Yeah, no, that's up to you. So if you like that rig, and he got good results with it, I will tell you this.
I prefer.
There's been some questions, as I think I told you, about the 7300 at the front end. Look up a couple of news articles, though, on your own. Just say 7300 front end overload, and what they'll tell you is, no. There is the detector that tells you there's overload, but we actually have a script that you follow when you see the light, and it gives you a couple of adjustments that you make. That brings in a couple extra layers of filtering, apparently, and resolves the issue, according to what I've been told anyway. So yeah, that's up to you. If you want to go that route, that's fine by me. All right? Okay. So then we'll just switch the rigs. We're probably going to give you guys the club generator with the refueler. So you remember that from last year? We crank it up and you're running the full 24 hours with no interruption. For you, what I'm thinking of is, remember when we walked the lot, you get the playground part. Did you follow me? So you're over by the playground. The sideband station is under the huge tulip tree, if that in fact is what it is. So, what do? Again, he's got a backstop, I've got a backstop. Who owns the tarps? Now, what I know for a fact is Ernest has 2 marine-sized gigantic tarps he's going to have to get rid of. But does anybody else own a boat or have a big tarp sitting at home for camping purposes? If it's a 10 by 10, a 10 by 15, a 10 by 12, using 2 or 3 together through the grommets, we could do a good enough job. But again, with the tents nested underneath the backstops with the tarps dangling, I don't think we have any problems. The other thing is these are Little League fields, but you know what? They do something they never did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, if it was a rainy day, you know, they took dirt with a mop and they pushed it over the puddle. These guys actually used the professional crap. You know, it's brown, looks like it's clay, and you throw it into puddles when you want to get a game going and you're at Yankee Stadium. Little Leagues actually use this stuff now. So it looks like it's pretty good drainable swim, and I think we'll be fine, unless we get a hurricane. The go-to tent. We're going to divvy this up as we ordinarily do. I will be there to start the effort, and if Adam shows up for sideband, I will spend a substantial amount of time ready to go to operation. And if it's Adam doesn't, I may switch over to sideband operation, get to go to starter, and then just pass it around. But here's where things get a little bit different. It's going to be my Pro 3, which we do like to use. I would really like to work the 500 QSOs. Now, we did that once. We've never done it again. But we do have a phenomenon this year that we had the same year the last time that we did do it. That's my buddy Maurice. Maurice qualifies as a GOTA operator. Hell, Maurice was only a ham for 35 years, but he qualifies as a GOTA operator. I've done Maurice a lot of favors. Let me tell you, we've dug a lot of parts out of the junk box for him. So I spoke to him. He was very much all in. His previous club was very casual about field day. I expect to sit his butt down as the GOTA mentor and possibly plug away, nail 300 to 400 QSOs with him. And if necessary, if we don't get anyone else that shows up for GOTA, he'll eat the whole 500 QSOs while I'm sitting there. But we're going to max out the score of that GOTA tent this year. All right? So a couple other things to give consideration to. My generator will be powering it. This is where I'm still looking for everybody to give me possible people that you may know that have an RV or a trailer. And I'm not trying to be extravagant with the money, but based on the fact it's an open site. If we could find one that I could rent for someone for like a couple $100, as in literally $200 for the entire weekend, I would consider it. And I don't give a damn if it's somebody's 30-foot Winnebago that hasn't been, no, let's skip the hasn't been fumigated part, but isn't even registered. Well, hell, if you want to slap on a plate, brother, I'm not going to stop you. Drive it over, drop it off at the site. I've checked the commercials. And there's a lot of people that will lease their RVs. But by the conditions of the leasing, our 24-hour period is 2 days. You understand how that works? Because of the way the pickup hours work. And really, I can't double $300 to justify paying $600. I'm also going to put out the word, though, through the police department and fire department, in case there's some guy that's got an RV that wants to literally pick up a couple $100.
FD doesn't have like a command?
Well, here's the other thing. No, I haven't called up yet one more time. So I have to do the sign-offs. As I do the sign-offs, I'll ask the fire department, I'll ask the police department, do you have anything that would fulfill this need? Here's the other thing, too. I'll ask a couple of the clerks of the works. Those are the guys that run the city projects and drag those little sheds around to operate out of. And we'll see if I can't make something up there. If anyone else has got suggestions, feel free. I want to remind you of something, though. Now, I don't expect you to get favors from your neighbors, but I've asked everyone to keep an eye out for RVs. Your neighbor's got one. It's a dingy-looking little thing. It sits in his driveway.
The one
The one right across the street. Are you friends with your neighbor? He's as dingy as the trailer.
No, the trailer he uses, they went over it, but I can't ask him.
That's all right. No, I'm just giving it as an example.
I know.
Keep your eyes open. Well, one of the problems, though, is if you know RV owners, finding a place to put them. So at this stage of the game, regular middle-class people are hard-pressed in this neck of the woods to own one. You got to be a guy that lives in North Stamford and have a huge driveway,
If you start checking with the Red Cross.
That's the other thing. I don't know.
Greenwich Red Cross had, and they actually brought it to the
good idea.
museum one year.
Right.
And they have
Okay.
facilities that even transfer them.
All right. Let me make a note of that.
They have the ERVs, but There were a lot of them are deployed right now to the storms.
Yeah. I know they had an odd one that wasn't standardized. There was a lot of controversy, but that was years ago.
Right. I had actually called Sky's son, who was still associated with the Air Force Reserve and the CAP, to see if they had anything in the way of vehicles that
What
they
you
could
got
spare.
airplane? You airplane guy. What you got airplane wise? You know.
We've got a Comban, a 40-some-odd foot van for sale.
Only 40 feet.
You know, we're willing to sell it.
Uh-huh.
What's in it? Crank up tower?
Comm room, computer room, sleeping accommodations.
Well, I'll fantasize about that. We can talk about it if you want, but
With all
that's,
our field day money,
How many miles on it?
not that many.
no, the problem.
It was donated
Yeah.
originally.
Oh, I got you. All right, well, let me go through this because I have just a couple more frames. So we got Maurice, who I would like to exploit. Now, let me tell you the story about me doing the Boy Scout camp out that I did a couple weeks ago. It was kind of interesting because they did match me up with a VHF guy who was a recently licensed tech guy, and he had his Boy Scout endorsement for being one of the official ham radio operators. Good guy. And he strolls right up to me and says, "So you're the HF guy?" I said, "Yep." We started talking field day. And he said, he said, "I tried to get to know those guys over at Kara, and I actually showed up for field day." And I said, "I've done a little research on how field day is supposed to work, and where's your go-to station?" They looked right at me and said, "Go-to station? What's a go-to station?" Actually, he says, "That's an exaggeration," but what they told me is they don't make any serious effort whatsoever. And I looked at him, I said, "Well, you seem like you're pretty militant about the hobby, Yep. You're trying to learn what's the transition that's going to be required to get from, say, VHF to HF. Yep. You haven't made many contacts with that handheld, have you?" Nope. I do work the local repeater. "So you ready to make the step up? You want to come with the Sirius Club and work with us at our go-to station?" Gee, that's an idea. So no kidding, I did get his email. I've been in contact with him 2 or 3 times. We may get him to come as well. This would be another militant go-to operator.
With some scouts?
I mentioned it to him, and there's a possibility he may bring a couple of them along, but I will tell you, there's been ongoing discussions about the role of ham radio and scouts. These discussions go back and forth. I have to tell you that in my experience, scouts are not interested in ham radio. It has been once again proven by my experience, although I will tell you, that's a matter of definition in terms of success, because I did have one young man and one very serious aspiring engineer young lady who was about 13 come up and engage me in a serious discussion. And when you think about it, if we got one ham out of that activity, it might merit.
It depends on how you introduce amateur radio to them.
I would agree.
When you show them the capabilities of the computer operation,
I agree.
it's a different world.
I agree. No, I agree. So, the possibility is that we could take advantage of some Boy Scouts if he comes and brings them. But the other thing to be on the alert of is we really did not pick up much in the way of bonus multipliers that are available for the under 18 operators. I believe the standard is we get 20 points for 1 QSO, and we can do this for a maximum of 5 operators under the age of 18. Well, that's probably 80 points we threw out the window last year.
100 points if they get 20 QSOs, I think.
No. 2 tiers. Don't confuse the two. 2 tiers of bonuses. 1 tier is each operator under 18, 20 points, 1 QSO. Then you can still sit them down and pick up the multipliers in the 20 QSO blocks in the go-to station. So they're not mutually exclusive. You could actually do one or the other. All right. VHF. Fred, where'd you go? I would like you to lead the effort if you're available. We do not expect a superb effort. We just expect you to get out there and see what you can work. But we will try to give you the beam back this year. Let me give you the nice little wrinkle about this lot, by the way. This, whatever the hell it is, tree, I thought it was an oak initially, but it's got flowering tops that don't look like oak. So maybe it's a tool tree, I don't know. The canopy on this sucker's at 100 feet. Now, no lie, at one point, there's a straight shot up to one of the peripheral 3/4 of the way branches up there where we could put the car at 70 feet and possibly drag the beam up 30, 40 feet easily as well. And simply point the thing down the coast and we'll see what happens. The takeoff angles, though, from there, Fred, down the coast, are superb. All right. So, we're largely going to go with the typical configuration on VHF, but remember how that works. We're going to need 1 rig for 6 meters. And ordinarily, we just take an HF rig equipped for 6 meters. But remember, Fred, both my rigs are committed at this point. So can you drag along the 7300 under the assumption that you're the one using it?
Yeah, I should be able to.
Okay. Now remind me, before we get out of here tonight, that I brought you the box and the CD-ROM. I didn't mean to keep that from you. I just didn't bring it the night I brought them over. So you want to follow me out to the car. We'll be good to go. All right. Okay, generators. Yeah, okay.
Getting back to the VHF,
Yeah.
what about satellite
Right.
or,
I'll make the standard offer. I have a satellite configuration. If anyone wants to try and master it between now and field day, let me know. I'll be happy to turn it over to you. So I've got the standard handheld configuration. I can't remember the brand name. Arrow? Arrow. And I've got a Kenwood TH6 that was an optimized rig with a low power sideband capability. So if anyone has an interest in satellite and wants to try it, I would be more than happy to give you the equipment home. This offer stands after field day as well. We need to cultivate someone, and you're all good with hardware. So I would have no problems letting it go. Obviously, I don't have the time to pick it up.
it would also be a good thing for a demo.
I believe it will be. I will tell you, though, that if you follow satellite, say good years for satellites. That's what I've been told. May have changed, but
I have
that's
no
what I've been
idea.
told recently. Yeah. The good news is we have a wealth of generators. Now, please understand that in many ways this may be Andy's last grand scale effort with us. He is departing for retirement and travel. And what's happened is we've had Maurice show up with a new generator. I'm like, well, Maurice, you've already paid your admissions ticket into the club. So we got a wealth of them. Take yours and sell it. But now hear me out. My friend Conway, God, I love this thing. How much? It's like, well, this is the club's, but I'll give you a little insight. One of my buddies is selling one off. How much? It's in pristine condition. He is a good guy with his machinery. Please understand this is not standard ham equipment. Don't pull the 50% off routine. That thing's worth about $650. Sold, have him get in contact with me. I will give you his email address. But I just told him, again, these retail for $975. There are knockoffs, but you know what? The knockoffs are not as good. So, well, anyway, we're covered there
And they
now.
have a new version now.
Yeah, I understand. I'm not sure what they can optimize on the one I've got, though. So really, just the other thing to consider, though, I still have a couple of the old storage batteries that you gave me from your IT mock-up. Just remember this: we don't know the acoustics up there yet, but Andy walked a lot with me, and this is what we can tell you: as you walk around the building, okay, they're going to be going up the driveway on the left-hand side of the building and going around the school. Now, what you're going to notice as you're going up the driveway is there's a church and commercial property off to the left. One side covered, it's commercial. There's no one there to piss off at me. Now, there's a right-of-way that defines the back of that lot that was put in many years ago for gasoline pipeline, or natural gas pipeline. And they haven't kept it trimmed, so you don't even know it's there. And it provides kind of a nice buffer. There's houses on the other side of it, though. So all I'm saying is, at one point where we may put the sideband station, the house might be, say, 200 feet. So we may want to do a little bit of experimenting acoustically with the placement of the generators, because time has proven to us that sometimes just moving the thing into a small depression or putting it behind a wall takes it from being barely noticeable to absolutely unhearable. But what I'm also going to do is have a couple of those batteries charged, so if the neighbor comes out and says, ba 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 ba, we have the capacity to just switch to battery operation. And I've done continuous battery operation with one of those at 100 watts, and I ran 24 hours. Now they're getting older over time, but I just think it'd be a nice backup capability. I'm sorry, I spilled my food. All right, I'll get back to that later. Actually, the food slide is very simple. You're in charge of food. However, John needs help. So, quick observation. We have been paring down the menu over time. If you remember, we used to do the basics, but then Ernest used to throw in an entree of one kind or another. This year, my battle plan is, again, no refrigerators. We're using coolers. Hot dogs, hamburgers, maybe some chili. And I was just thinking of throwing in corn on the cob for the first time this year, because it's relatively easy to prepare. What I'm assuming is you bring your charcoal stove, and what I've got is a good old-fashioned, plus-size Coleman dual-burner white gas stove. Mail order, fresh. They're starting to make these again. but it's the standard model that's a little bit bigger, and it can easily support constant use of the 2 burners. So I don't know if it's necessary to embellish that with propane, but see, here's the good news.
Which grill do you want me to bring?
Well, we'll talk about that, because here's the good news. What do I have to do now to finalize the process? Okay, Terrence, here's your sign-offs. Now, the thing is, what held this up, because you remember I kept saying, guys, I think this is in the bag. Don't get too concerned, but the city moves at its own pace. Hey, the city went through a few things with the Board of Ed and school maintenance, if you didn't hear last week, that they fired ABB. So God bless me, the woman that I'm working is one of the city employees that had to deal with those people. So there's your explanation as to why she did not get back to me expeditiously. But when I did get a hold of her, what she finally said is, I really didn't have the time to give you intermediate updates, and said, no progress, no progress, no progress, but the deal is you picked the right time to call. We just got the email from the risk adjustment guy. Now, Ernest has done his homework over the years, and he's kissed those boys, right? Risk adjustment guy basically said, oh yeah, I know those guys. Yeah, they can do 24-hour operation, no problem. Because here's the thing, guys, this was an inside track deal, all right? Captain Lombardo was the one that introduced me to the contact in the Board of Education. And what he told me is, oh, she's the lady that is responsible for all the facilities. Anyone that wants to use any facility for anything, they work with her. You're skipping 5 levels in the bureaucracy. Here's her extension. She picked up the phone. Terry Martin, Stanford Amateur Radio Association. Captain Lombardo sent me blah, 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 blah. Okay, you got 5 minutes. Tell me what this is all about. Went through the whole thing, and if you remember, I told you I had this conversation and said, okay, sounds good to me, and I'm the one that makes the decisions. But I got to talk to the risk manager. So here's the deal. We already got the sign-off of the risk manager. We've got the sign-off of the police department in the bag, obviously, right? The last one to do is the fire department. I'm sure the fire department's going to say, are you going to have any open flames? Or, you know, is this going to be an endeavor where commercially you're going to be feeding anybody? And I'm going to say, nope. And we're going to have a charcoal grill and a Coleman stove. Unless you want me to say a propane grill. You see what I'm saying? So you do have a heavy-duty propane grill as well?
Propane?
Yeah, you know, canister as opposed to charcoal.
No.
No,
You
I
do
don't.
not. Okay, so we've just used the charcoal burner all these years. So just assume we'll bring that then. Do you have a second one?
Yes.
I have
Okay.
2.
Yeah, because you have the kettle one, right?
And you got a square one.
And a square one. Yeah, just kind of bring it to it, we'll be covered. What we'll use the Coleman for is just making coffee the course of the evening, or for doing simple, you know, bang-up stuff coming home. All right? Okay, so I'm sure we'll have no problems getting that by the fire department. Okay, setup. We've already talked about it. Really, if I could just have the standard crew, that should be good. I predict this is a leisurely setup compared to what we've done in the past, because again, there's no beam going up on that roof. Also, there's not much in the way of improvisation of stuff as we had to do last year. We were actually fabricating a couple new antennas. Pretty much all the hardware is ready. I just may simplify a couple things as to how 1 or 2 of the wire beams are configured. So, I'm going to be up there starting at 9, as I always am, but I will point out that part of what I'm going to be doing is shooting the lines, and I only need one other person to work the ropes. So I'm going to try and commandeer Maurice for that day for his part in setup effort. When we really get down to the nitty-gritty, it's when we're assembling the wire beams and when we're assembling the, you know, TA33 Juniors, and that's something that we can just do at our leisure a little bit later on in the afternoon. I don't predict it's going to be a real, you know, touchy scenario. Yes?
Are we going to use both 40-meter wire beams?
I think so.
So I just refurbed the CW beam.
Right.
I don't know the condition of the sideband beam, whether it's got all the parts or,
Right.
are we going to have any surprises on that day?
You just focus on the CW beam, and I'll make sure that the sideband beam is in good shape.
And I have webbing harnesses for both beams.
Okay, because you had given me some harnesses and they were surplus then.
Did I give you any?
Yeah, I just said on a contingency that we may use them, can you toss me a couple of them? And you gave me some webbing.
Okay.
And you did say it's not the complete, you know,
I definitely have 2 sitting at
All
home,
right.
so.
I may be headed up your way to walk that lot again or do some work at the observatory, and I will drop off what you turned over to me. But yeah, certainly just pulling those guys up. But here's the thing, I do have to aim, and aim carefully. So that particular project is one that might have me and the knot tire working solo for 2 or 3 hours before we call the rest of you in and say, the ropes are up, let's go. And that seems to be the best way to go. Okay, one challenge though. All right, what's still needed on the laptops? I've got one. You've got one for the CW side? Not anymore.
You've got mine.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that that was the one that you actually used. Okay.
It's the clubs, really.
Right, that I understand. All right, we'll have to work that out then.
Well, Markel is gonna bring in CW.
If you bring yours, okay, then that can handle the CW side, then we'll work it from there. All right. The thing is even with VHF, it's nice to have one, but we've managed to live without them. But Fred, do you have a serviceable laptop at this point you can bring over for VHF?
I have to check.
Just let me know.
I'm not sure, because I had one last year, but
That's what I thought.
I had a couple of them, but
All right.
I know something went wrong, and then I had another thing I was gonna refurb, which I didn't get around to.
All right. The other possibility is I think Ernest has got a couple still lying around. Let's see if I can borrow one of his. So I got to get in contact with him over some equipment. All right. So we can always use more extension cords. Again, where we're dealing with acoustics and the generators, I would like to have the ability to move the generator 100 feet, if necessary, away from the operating station. Plus, I will tell you that we do still get some incidental noise we discover even with the 2000 Hondas if you have the generators too close to the operating positions. So we could never have enough of those, but you've got a 100-footer, I think that you used to bring. If
I
you
got
could bring
like 3 cords,
be a
I'll
big
bring
help.
again.
All right, excellent.
I have 200 footers.
You have a 200-footer?
No, two.
100 footers. Very good. And they're high capacity because you used to use them for your pumping of it, yes?
One of them is 12 gauge, one is 12
Excellent. Okay, great. All right. We always use more operators and loggers, so again, we welcome guest operators. I don't know if we're going to have a substantial amount of them this year, but we will work on, now you've got to set up in the locator already, or you were still waiting on me?
Waiting on you?
Okay, so let's do the locator as soon as possible. And John, if you want, are you working tomorrow, or what's your schedule like?
Gotta work tomorrow.
Okay, and you're off tomorrow night?
You want the 2 tents that I stored away?
Yeah, but at your leisure. We don't have to get them right now. But we'll talk about what to put on the website now in terms of announcements. All right?
Take off, well, I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay. And what I'll do, by the way, too, is probably make this whole presentation minus the summary motivational pep talk public, and we'll just attach it to the site because they want to see what we're up to. Now, again, for the folks that get up early, the earlier you can get there on Sunday, the better, because usually we're at Woods End. So if I count on the early crew, which in the past has consisted of Fred, Dr. John,
I can't
and
talk now.
just a couple other folks coming and going, that would definitely help. The thing we always point out too, though, is when someone shows up and says, I don't have any experience doing this, that time to put them to work is on Sunday, when really the volume of calls drops significantly, and so does the stress level. I'm sorry?
What time is early?
Oh, Fred showed up one year around 5:30, yes? I must kissed you when you did.
More like 6.
More like 6, huh? Works for me. You follow me? Yeah, 5:30 and 6 though. It's for the kind of people that get up for church, synagogue, or whatever anyway, or just the natural risers, where it's never been a problem for them. And really, Terry's done the same thing. Well, I'm just curious though, when you were doing shift work, what time did your shift start, Terry?
Oh, I've done all different times. Some one time I stayed overnight, other times I hadn't.
Okay. What do you figure for this year you can give us?
I'll be there whenever.
Okay. All right, good.
I'm not planning on it. I don't think next year I think. Yeah, that's why I heard something about next year.
Now, the standard speech is there anybody here that's never done this? Everybody here has done this, so we will skip by that speech. The summary. So, we were faced with a bit of a challenge that we didn't think we would be faced with, but I will tell you that this was remarkably easily pulled off. And it was all thanks to Captain Lombardo, who gave us the level jump of about 5 intermediary levels to talk to the lady who made the decision. So, you are to genuflect in his presence whenever you encounter him. He will come to visit the site. In conjunction with the board meeting, and Ernest saying, and you make damn sure the police department knows that you're authorized to be there. And that's when I looked at him and said, Ernest, I think that's the most redundant speech you've ever given in your life. But Lombardo in the email, when I said, thank you very much for going to bat for us, said, and I will make certain I tell the crews that you're going to be operating the entire 24-hour period. So we shouldn't have any problem with getting visits from the constabulary. I have 2 objectives this year. I really do want to max out that go-to station. Turn off the camera. Don't pan on this. If you already panned on it, edit it out. My personal objective this year. Are you ready? Read between the lines. Prove that a very efficient 2A operation can complete with a suboptimal 3A operation run by a bunch of know-it-all, pig-headed, over the hill, and I switched the last 2 words just to be nice. I have a message. actually fairly easily compared to last year. So do understand, we've got the pledges of a couple more hardcore operators over what we did last year, where I think everybody got every possible minute of operating time they ever dreamed of and then some. Again, I didn't anticipate being there last year, but I just wanted to discuss with you the momentum of Field Day. And I don't know how good conditions are going to be this year, but I will just tell you, last year, I had the enjoyable experience of the way Field Day was back at its peak in the 50s and 60s, where I got on the air, put out a call, and for 7 straight hours, didn't even have the time to get up and go to the bathroom with all the people coming back to me. And I'll just tell you that you'd be amazed the amount of energy that can provide you if the conditions are right. What's my prediction for conditions this year? Poor to fair. We live with it and we do the best job possible. I'm not
Last
predicting.
year wasn't great.
No, it wasn't. That was
But-
mediocre at best. Yep.
For the short period of time that I operated, a little over an hour,
Right.
if you control the frequency,
That was
you're
the secret.
busy the whole time.
We got what I thought was HF ducting on 20 meters all up and down the eastern seaboard all of a sudden, starting at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're in all the way to sunup. So I just kept hearing the southern boys over and over again. Some on some very short skip for 20 at night, too. You know, guys down in the DC, Virginia area, left and right. So, you know, conditions can make it fun. But I will tell you, too, that it's sometimes fun just to sit here pressing the button in the middle of the night and hearing your voice come back at you.
It doesn't have to be the middle of the night, it can be
Right.
during the day, early in the day. 40 meters, we're doing very well out west.
Right. Yeah, no, and I expect that, you know, again, I do know that the 18-foot beam is in good shape. 99% certain the 13-footer that we use for sideband is good. Those antennas do work, and they do give us a great signal on 70 as long as, or on 40, as long as you can hold the frequency, you've got it made.
Now, are
So,
you gonna give a little talk about how to operate, how to hold the frequency, et cetera?
I would, except everyone here knows the
Oh, okay.
speech. You follow me? If I had as much as one newcomer, we'd be doing this all from the ground up. But everyone's heard the speech at this stage of the game. That's all I can tell you.
Terry P.